have this question.
Así es, entonces hoy vamos a estar hablando de una pregunta que se repite bastante, 245 y peticiones de hermanos o hermanas.
Yeah, so if you have a sibling, I'm talking specifically to Mexicans right now, because in the visa categories, it depends on where you are from, where you were born. It doesn't matter where your sibling was born. It matters where you were born for being able to get your green card through a US citizen siblings petition, for how long you have to wait. And Mexicans pretty much have to wait the longest, which is super unfair and frankly, I believe discriminatory, but it is what it is. And so this is, if you're hearing this and you're like, well, I'm not Mexican, and you're saying that US citizen petitions are good for Mexicans, then I'm going to go ahead and say they're probably good for you too.
Exacto, entonces hoy vamos a estarle hablando un poquito más cercano a los mexicanos. ¿Por qué? Porque dependiendo de dónde es que eres tú, no importa de dónde haya nacido tu hermano, es más o menos cuánto tiempo vas a tener que esperar. Y desafortunadamente nuestros hermanos mexicanos son quienes tienen que esperar el tiempo más largo. Lo cual pues es de alguna manera injusto y discriminatorio, pero bueno, así es esto. Pero si tú nos estás escuchando y no eres mexicano, pero tienes la posibilidad de hacer una petición a través de tu hermano o hermana, lo que digamos para ellos probablemente también te beneficie a ti.
And the reason this is such an important topic is because, at New Frontier, one of our objectives is to help you grab your papers without leaving the country. And through these old sibling petitions, many times, especially now, because your petition is current, your visa category is current, you're able to fix without leaving in many, many cases. So this is why this is such an important topic for me as an attorney and for you as a listener.
Así es, entonces si tú nos estás escuchando, este es un gran información para ti, porque tú sabes que aquí en Nueva Frontera nos encanta ayudar a las personas a que arreglen sin salir. Entonces, si la categoría de tu visa está al corriente, es decir, si está ya activada, por así decirlo, esto quiere decir que estás muy pronto a agarrar tus papeles y todo esto, si calificas, sería sin salir.
So let's say that you are Mexican. This is who I'm talking to, because I just looked in all the visa categories. If you're Mexican and it's current, everybody else, you're current too. So this applies to everyone. But every time I say Mexican, know that if you're from the Philippines, India, China, or anywhere else, and you have a sibling petition filed for you in, let me get the date, April 2001, you can now, your category is now current, which means you're eligible for your green card now, where before you had to wait and wait and wait. You've now waited all this time. So no matter where in the world you're from, if your sibling filed a petition for you in April 2001 or before, your petition is now current, which is awesome. And I'm going to tell you exactly why that is.
Exacto, entonces si tú eres de México y de todas estas demás categorías, ya decimos mexicanos, pero aplica básicamente a todos porque ellos son quienes tienen que esperarlo más. Entonces si tú eres de India, China, de donde sea, y esto también aplica para ti. Entonces hay que poner mucha atención. Si tú tienes una petición de parte de tus hermanos, no importa de dónde sean ellos, de hace mucho tiempo, estamos hablando abril 2001, you said?
Yeah, April 2001, exactly.
Exacto, abril 2001 o antes de eso, tu categoría ahora está vigente y ya eres elegible para agarrar tu green card. Entonces, si eres de alguno de estos países, mexicano con una petición de hermanos, esto te va a ayudar muchísimo.
Yes. So what's helpful about this is if you entered the US illegally, perhaps you came walking, perhaps you, usually it's people who walk across the border. And this was super common in the 90s. It wasn't even a big deal. But people who came and they stayed in the country and they've been waiting all this time for them to be able to fix. The benefit now is that if you only entered the one time, you may be eligible. It's not a promise, it's not legal advice, but you may be eligible for something called 245I, where we can show that if you were here in December 2000 and you haven't left and you just entered that one time, then now your sibling petition makes it where you can fix without leaving the country in some cases. So It's really awesome because I know so many people who've been waiting for now it's decades, and they may have forgotten that this is something that's kind of like, you know, when you find money in a bank account and it was only 10 cents 20 years ago, and then now it's like $50. And you're like, hey, I totally forgot about this, but this investment has been growing all of this time. This may be something that reminds you that, oh yeah, my brother or my sister did petition for me all this time ago. It's time for me to go find out if maybe this is the opportunity for me to be able to get my green card. And even if you didn't enter illegally, let's say you entered with a visa, this sibling petition can also, again, every case is very specific. So I don't want to speak with paint with too broad of a brush, but many times, and I've helped people do this even here recently, helped them use their visa entry and their sibling petition from the 2000s for them to be able to fix without leaving. So there's kind of two ways for you to do that right now.
Exacto. Entonces, bueno, si tú nos estás escuchando, primero que nada, esto no es la verdad, esto no es una promesa, esto no es consejo legal, estamos hablando de los casos que hemos visto. Entonces, si tú tienes esta petición de los 2000 y estabas presente aquí en los Estados Unidos y podemos probar antes de diciembre del 2000, lo más probable es que tú puedas utilizar esa petición como lo que se conoce una 245I. Y esto tiene grandes oportunidades para ti, porque si tú entraste de manera sin inspección, sin papeles, en la década de antes de los 2000, en los 90 esto era súper común, no era la gran cosa. Entonces, hay la posibilidad de que utilicemos esta petición antigua para perdonar esa entrada ilegal y tú puedas agarrar tus papeles sin salir. Entonces, esa es una de las maneras. Por el contrario, si tú entraste con tu visa de turista y luego tu hermano o tu hermana hicieron una petición por ti, entonces esto también se puede utilizar para que tú por fin agarres tus papeles. Y esto es muy emocionante porque sabemos que estas personas han estado esperando por décadas. Entonces, es como cuando dejaste 10 centavos en una cuenta de banco y con los intereses y con todo esto, al día de hoy son $50. Esa inversión con tanto tiempo que ha pasado ha crecido y es hora de cosechar esos beneficios. Entonces, si esta es tu situación, quizá olvidaste que tu hermana hizo una petición por ti, quizá olvidaste que tu hermano hizo una petición por ti, hoy es el momento de cosechar ese regalo del pasado y llamarnos para hacer una revisión de tu caso y ver si calificas para arreglar sin salir.
Yes. And the way that you can look this up. So, one of my goals is always to empower you to find out more about your case so that, you know, if you need an attorney, I want to be here and be available for you. But when there's so much stuff available online, I want to teach you a little bit about how you can look this up. So, the first thing you'll have to do is you need your receipt notice. That's the notice that the government sends you after someone files a petition for you. Maybe it was your uncle a really long time ago and you were listed as a kid, or maybe it's your spouse. They filed it maybe only a year ago. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's your sibling. Whoever it is that filed a petition for you, they said, I have status. I want a petition for someone who doesn't. That's the receipt that the government sends. And we would want to see like what the date is on there. It will say notice date and receipt date. You want what says the receipt date. And then from there, I just Google this. So I don't even have it bookmarked in my phone because it updates every single month. You Google visa bulletin and then the month that we're in. So today for this, I Googled because, we're here almost to March. I Googled visa bulletin March 2023. You don't want to look at old visa bulletins because they're not going to be helpful. You want to look at the most current one. Even though we're in February, they usually release the one for the following month. So you go look at that and you find your category. This is a little bit like a word search where you have to fill things in correctly. And if you get one letter off, you start to figure it out really quickly. So don't worry if this is confusing. I still call friends. I've been an immigration lawyer for over 10 years, and I will still call friends kind of when I get into a mental pretzel about how to do this. So if you find yourself getting a little bit frustrated, you're not alone. It's not an easy system, but it is available. And it's relatively straightforward once we look at it. I've got it here on my phone. For those of you who are able, if you want to see it on, if you're listening, please go to YouTube. And otherwise, you can just Google along with me. But for siblings, you see that it's F4 and there's two charts. You're going to see one chart and then you're going to see a second chart if you scroll down a little bit more. Okay. You see a second chart. The second chart is going to have different dates. You want to use the second chart because it tells you when you're allowed to file. Basically, the government is saying, we recognize that your category is not current today, but based on our processing times, by the time we get to it, it's going to be current. So you can go ahead and file it. So I went and looked at the second chart for F4, and I see that for Mexicans, it says April 1st, 2001, you can go ahead and file. And in the first chart, it says August 2000. So it would mean that like people who had older petitions, that's when their category is going to be current, but the government knows it's taking over a year to process these. So it's okay to go ahead and file them now. I realize that that sounds complicated. It's okay for it to be complicated. I want you to turn off the part of your brain that says, I'm confused. It's okay to be confused. We're here for you. There's lots of stuff available on the internet. The goal here is not to get overwhelmed. So tell your brain it's okay for me to be confused. At the end of the day, if you need help with this, let me know. I want to help with this. If you need any further guidance, we're here to help with this. But I just really want you to know it's Google available. Search it online. And the most important thing you need is your receipt notice. So I can see, and you can see what the date is on your receipt notice, because that guides everything. The received date or the notice date doesn't matter. The receipt notice is what the date is that matters.
Así es, entonces lo primero que tienes que saber es que aquí queremos darte las herramientas para que tú puedas encontrar esta información por ti mismo. Obviamente queremos que sepas que estamos aquí para ti, pero si no necesitas un abogado, puedes fácilmente hacer esto. El proceso es el siguiente: necesitas el documento que se llama Receipt Notice o notificación de recibido. Es básicamente un papel que le otorga el gobierno a tu familiar que hizo una petición por ti. Ese papel dice, yo soy un ciudadano, un residente y hago esta petición por mi padre, por mi madre, por mi hermano. Quizá tu tío te lo hizo hace mucho tiempo cuando eras un menor de edad. Entonces necesitamos ese recibo porque va a decir Receipt Notice y la otra va a tener dos fechas. Entonces, lo importante es el Receipt Notice. Esa fecha es súper, súper importante. Después puedes ir a Google, es súper sencillo, todo el mundo lo hace, y buscar Bulletin de Visa o Visa Bulletin y el mes en el que estés y 2023, que sería este año. Esa es la información más actualizada sobre las visas. Entonces, va a haber un pequeño juego ahí de palabras porque necesitamos identificar. Entonces, vas a Google, buscas Boletín de Visas 2023 y entonces ahí vas a buscar en la página y vas a encontrar una tabla. En esa tabla vas a ver tu categoría. En este caso estamos hablando específicamente de las peticiones de hermanos. Entonces, tu categoría es la F4. Entonces, una vez que hagas eso, vas a poder encontrar en la categoría dos fechas: agosto 2000, me parece, y mayo, abril, exacto. Entonces, esas dos fechas son importantes porque nos dice cuándo puedes meter tu petición, aunque tarde un año, año y medio después en ser procesada. Entonces, toda esta información sé que puede ser mucha en este momento, puedes regresar y ver este video de nuevo. Es muy importante que no dejes que el miedo, la preocupación hagan sentir que es imposible hacer este proceso. Es paso a paso y lo más importante es que sepas que cuentas con nosotros si necesitas ayuda en conocer tu petición de hermanos ciudadanos de antes de los 2000.
Awesome. If you have any other questions, reach out to me. We can create, I think that we should create a resource for this, Sarah. We should create like a how to read the visa bulletin. I'm going to do that. Let's do that because if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're going to not hear that I'm recording this with a Spanish speaker, and it's going to seem like, who's she talking to? But if you come watch this on YouTube and maybe you prefer Spanish as your preferred language, Sarah is always translating these as well. And she's also just a ton of fun. So you can come find us on YouTube. And I know that it's great to also be here live with you on Facebook. But in any event, I'm so happy that we can create some of this information, because one of our missions, one of our core values is to help remove fear from the immigrant process. And we are also striving to help 1 million people get their papers. And so this podcast, these Facebook Lives, our YouTube channel, all of it is so that we can share information. It doesn't do it any good for it to live in my brain, because it can help my clients. We have thousands of clients who we're helping, but what I want to help is millions. So if you're an immigration lawyer, please subscribe. If you are an immigrant or you got a family member who you're trying to help, please check us out, because we're here to help. We want to help change the world, and we can't do it without people like you. Please let me know if you need anything. I'm Abogada Hillary. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Así es, entonces gracias a todas las personas que nos están viendo, escuchando en el podcast. Tenemos este increíble recurso. Vamos a estar creando este recurso para que puedas leer el boletín de las visas y nos encantaría compartírtelo. Este programa no solo está siendo transmitido en vivo, también está siendo grabado para nuestro podcast, para la gente que solamente habla inglés. Aquí puedes encontrar la traducción en español, como siempre. Muchísimas gracias por tu confianza, por tu elección. Estamos en la meta de ayudar a 1 millón de personas y tenemos miles y miles de clientes, pero eso no sería posible si no podemos alcanzar, servir, compartir esta información con millones de personas. Al final, si no eres parte de del equipo Nueva Frontera, puedes tener acceso a esta información. Queremos compartirla contigo y muchísimas gracias por conectarte el día de hoy. Nos vemos pronto.
Tenga buen día.
Adiós.